Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day today. I wanted to do a follow-up video on the little fowl that I placed in water culture and just show you what it looks like on day 3 of water culture. I've also received several really good questions from you all that I wanted to answer on this video today. And so here is the beautiful root system of this Phalaenopsis. It has been very easy to convert this one to water culture. The water has stayed clear. I think I changed the water the day that I converted it. I converted it 3 days ago and changed the water twice on that day. And ever since, it's been in the same water. There has been no debris, nothing floating around in there, no moss, no nothing. This is what your roots should look like when you're planning on converting one to water culture. If you can't get all the media off of it without damaging the roots, I would suggest you place it back in the original media. That causes root rot quicker than anything. If there's any leftover media on the roots, it's going to cause you problems. It might not to begin with even, but it will in the long run. So the media came off of this very easily. As you remember, I just soaked it off of there. I gave this a good soak, and the first time there was a lot of moss that came off. The second time, not so much so, and this is the third soak that you're looking at right now. Now, a lot of you have asked me, what is the correct water culture level for full water culture? About right here. And here's my mark. I like to mark on my containers where I like to have my water culture level. If I was going to do full water culture, it would be about right up to here. But you want to make sure that that water stays under the stem. You can see the stem right through there. I want to make sure that it stays under that stem. That can also lead to root rot as well. That stem, if it stays in water for very long, it will turn fuzzy on you. And when you're doing water culture, I highly recommend that you keep a good eye on the roots. I check all of my orchids every day. I check the roots every day. That way I know what's going on with them. And if there's any sign that they are doing poorly in water culture, I go ahead and I place them back in the media that they were in before they were in water culture. So that's a thing to keep in mind. If they've been in water culture for a while and you have to change them back, usually moss is a really good thing. The sphagnum moss is a really, really good thing to use. If you're using water culture as just a short-term method, by short-term, here's what I mean. If you get an orchid, you bring it home, you really weren't expecting to buy a new orchid that day, and you don't have any moss at home, and you know that that orchid needs to be repotted like soon because it's in that old brown basket moss, then you can place it down in water culture until you can get your moss ordered and have that ready for it. Or let's say you don't have the right container, the right size container for a new orchid purchase. You can place them down in water culture short term and then place them right back in that media when you get it ordered and get it in. That's a really smart thing to do, actually. And here is a video that will help you if you are trying to determine whether it needs to be placed back in media. Reasons why to convert orchids to media from water culture from September 13th, 2017. I go through quite a few of my own case scenarios in this video. So I highly recommend you watch that just to be aware of the signs that your orchid is actually struggling in water culture. Okay, and let's go over some subscriber questions. How do you decide which phals you place in water culture and which to leave in moss? That's a very good question. If the moss does not come off of the roots very well, then I place it right back into moss. I really don't pry any type of media off of the roots and, take the risk of damaging them. Also, I really have a decision to make about this fowl because it's a miniature. It really does have a species fowl look to it. But historically, my miniatures haven't done very well in waterculture. So do I want to keep this one in waterculture long term? I'm still trying to make up my mind. So you usually know if the media comes right off of the roots that that's going to be a really good candidate for waterculture. And another thing to keep in mind is if you've had an orchid in your collection for, say, a year or longer, I would not convert that to waterculture. I would keep that in the media that it's used to growing in. I tried some of my older phals in waterculture, and I had to convert every single one of them back into their original media. Actually, most of them I did place in sphagnum moss. That is a really good growing media to convert to after they've been in waterculture and it doesn't work. And another really good question, is it okay to repot or convert an orchid to waterculture when it's budding or blooming? Okay, this one is already starting to bloom out. So I knew that this one would be pretty much safe to convert to waterculture. I've never had any problems with converting an orchid to waterculture and it bothering the bloom cycle. However, if they're just in bud, I would not do that. That's really not a good time to repot an orchid at all. I try to leave my orchids that are just budding, I try to leave them alone until they start blooming out. Normally, to be honest, I would have waited a while and let this bloom out a little bit more had it not been packed in that pot so tightly. I didn't want to risk losing the plant just to see the plant bloom out more. So you have to kind of see, is your media in good condition when you buy it? If your bark is in good condition and it's in really good moss and it's not compacted down in there really tightly, you can wait until they're fully bloomed out. That's probably a really good time. But this little plant was so packed into that little pot that I was really thinking it needed to be converted over that day. So I'm going to let you see this beautiful root system again. Usually if it makes it through the first week without any fuzzy roots, you know that you've got a really good candidate for waterculture. This water is just very clean and clear. I don't have any media stuck anywhere on these roots, so this is a very good candidate for waterculture. So I hope that helps you all, and you all just have a highly favored, deeply loved, and greatly blessed day. And we'll talk to you all again next time.